Does the thought of doing video in your farm marketing scare you? Well, if it does, you're not alone. I have so many farmers that reach out to me and ask me, will you please do a podcast all about how to get over my fear of doing video? And so today I'm sharing with you some of my best practices for using video in your farm marketing. We're going to talk about what do you film, why is video so important, and how can you repurpose it? Let's get started. Hey there, this is Corinna Bench, and welcome to the My Digital Farmer podcast. In today's market, it's not enough to just grow your product. You've got to know how to sell it too. Welcome to the My Digital Farmer podcast, where we reveal online marketing strategies and tips to help farmers like you get better and more confident at marketing. Learn how to find more customers, increase your sales, and build a strong brand for your farm. Let's start the show. Well, welcome to episode 275 of the My Digital Farmer podcast. I am your host, Corinna Bench, one of the farmers at Shared Legacy Farms out in Elmore, Ohio. I'm also the founder of mydigitalfarmer.com, which is all about trying to help other farmers like you get more confident in your marketing and sales strategies so that you can grow a profitable business. How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to the show. Big shout out to all of my regular listeners, my binge listeners. And if you're new to the show, I'm really glad you're here. Welcome to the community. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast. You're going to want to do that. And then go check out some of my back issues. You can scroll through. I've got over 250 of them now. And I'm sure you can find something there that piques your interest. If you're really new to the marketing space, though, and you need kind of a 101 crash course, I recommend that you go listen to the first 10, or even better, get onto my email list, because when you do, I'm going to send you a weekly email for like 3 months that's going to walk you through the marketing jungle and kind of get you onboarded into what you need to know. And you can do that by going to mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe. I get really good reviews for that, so definitely take advantage of that. Today's episode is sponsored by my friends at Local Line. Switch to Local Line and grow your farm to new heights this season. Local Line is the most comprehensive sales software built for farmers and food hubs. Its features include e-commerce, automated inventory management, subscriptions, a website builder, point of sale, and more, helping you increase your sales and streamline your processes. So whether you're a CSA farmer or you sell meat, you run a food hub, or maybe you sell wholesale or offer a herd share, Local Line has the tools and features that you need to succeed. We're a big fan. Are you looking to switch to a sales software that does it all? Subscriptions start as low as $49 a month with no setup fees or sales percentages. That's huge for me. Plus, if you join Local Line today, your onboarding manager will migrate your storefront at no cost, so you can be up and running in no time, even in the middle of the season. As a bonus, if you are a podcast listener, Local Line is also offering a free premium feature for 1 year with your subscription when you use my coupon code MDF2024. So go to mydigitalfarmer.com/local line and then enter the coupon code MDF2024. Make the switch today. And now back to the show. Today, I am going to be talking about video, using video in your farm marketing, best practices, what you need to get, why we do video, and how to get started. Like if you're one of those farmers that hasn't quite jumped on the video platform yet because you're just a little bit nervous, or you don't like to show your face, or you're not sure what to say, I'm going to give you some starting points. This has been a request from several different farmers on my survey that I send out to my list, but also I get requests through email to please do an episode about video. And usually the context of those requests is, hey, I'm nervous about doing video and I just need some inspiration and encouragement on how to get started, because I know that it's probably important that I do it, and I know it would help my marketing move forward. I just can't seem to get started. So today is going to be kind of a overview of how to use video. Some of you are already doing this and you may not need to listen to this episode, or maybe you'll only hear a couple of things that are new for you. I'm not necessarily the be-all and end-all of video marketing. I do use it a lot. I feel like it's kind of my go-to content creation method because I'm just a naturally good public speaker and I've had a lot of practice. So I do feel like I have something to offer here, but definitely pay attention to some of the other farms that do this well. We can learn a lot just by allowing ourselves to be mentored by those who've gone before us who are really good at it. So that was kind of how I first learned this skill. As I studied people who were public speakers, I paid attention to how they put words together, how they started and ended their content, how they measured the audience, how they held the audience in the room's attention. At least when I was getting started as a public speaker, I actually did study that. I would watch my videos and critique myself and look for ways that I could change my body language, right? So this is something that I have actually studied and actively worked on, and that's maybe why it comes so naturally to me. Let's start out, though, with why I think it's important to do video. I don't think you have to do it in order to be successful at farming. So you might listen to this episode today, get to the end of it, and still have a ton of misgivings and be like, no, I don't want to do it. And I think that would be okay. If you have some other ways that you draw in your ideal customer, where you build engagement and connection, you probably don't need to do this. But if video is intriguing to you, or if you're willing to take the plunge and give it a try, I think there can be a lot of value. First of all, it's a really fast way to connect with your customers and your leads, to turn them into customers. There's something about meeting someone face to face or seeing them on a camera that actually creates connection. And this has been studied in the world of psychology. When you see someone face to face, when you have an interaction, it creates trust faster. I often hear from some of my customers when they meet me for the first time at like our CSA pickups, for instance, they'll say, oh my gosh, I feel like I know you. And it's because they've seen me on video so much that I'm a little bit of a celebrity to them and they know some of the backstory already. And so to them, it's like just finally meeting a friend that they've been watching for a long time. And that kind of magic, that acceleration of the customer journey can happen when a person is watching you on video. I also think that it's a clear and fast way to communicate a lot of information. Some people are more audio learners than they are written word. And I don't know how many of you are raising your hand right now, but how often have you sent out email after email and handbook after handbook explaining your policies and procedures and how things work, and it seems like no one has read them? That happens to me too. And so I like to have a method like video where I'm saying the same messaging in short form content lots of different times. It reiterates the message. Some people are only going to watch it that way, and they're more likely to internalize it and remember it. I also think it's just fast. It's a fast way for me to create content. I can sit down and shoot out a Loom video to a customer with some special instructions that I can do in like 2 minutes instead of spending 15 minutes to write a well-crafted email. Plus it comes off as much more personal because they're getting a personal video message from me, right? So sometimes I'm using video just to quickly share instructions or welcome someone, and it's a whole lot faster for me. It just takes less time. Now, one of the other reasons I love video so much is that you can repurpose it. In fact, I think that is the power of video. The power is in the replay. When you learn how to leverage the replay of your content and put it into a marketing funnel and just then move new people through that funnel, you can make that one video, that 5-10 minutes it took you to make that asset, you can turn that into a lifelong evergreen resource that just keeps moving customers and growing them closer to you. I also think it's great because you can upload these into another platform. So you might record it once on Instagram, but then you can download that asset and put it onto YouTube, for example, or you can put it onto Facebook. You can put it in other locations. And if you stick it on YouTube, there's some SEO juice that comes with that. As the second largest search engine in the world, YouTube is a place that people go to learn things. There's an intention when someone sits down in front of YouTube that I'm coming here to learn, not to just scope and be entertained necessarily, but I'm coming here to learn some information. And then they're going to stumble upon some of these assets that you've loaded up there. They may even binge through a whole bunch of different videos on your channel because they're there with that intention, and it grows that relationship so much faster. So there's a whole lot to be said for video production. I also just don't think that the expectation these days is that it needs to be high quality in terms of production value. In fact, I've noticed anecdotally that the videos I create that are very rough and off the cuff seem to come off much more authentically. And that authenticity is really what seems to connect people and sell, more than making sure that it looks all tight and beautiful with the perfect audio and background. So if you're worried about things like, oh, I don't have the exact right lighting, or I sound a little muffled, or I said a lot, I think that's perfectly okay. And I think people actually respond to that really well. I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the gear, because that always comes up when I talk to people. They're like, what do I need to have in order to be good at doing video marketing? I am not a gearhead. So everything that I do is using my iPhone, and I do have a tripod. I used to use the tripod a lot more than I do now. When I was creating content in my kitchen, cooking and creating a lot of these resources for my CSA members that now live inside of the CSA Academy, I would have to set up the camera on a tripod because my husband wasn't there to film it all the time. And now I use that in a combination of different clip-on stands. Like I've bought, I don't even know what it's called, but it's this thing that clips onto the side of the table or anything actually. And then on the other end of it is where you put your phone, and then you can kind of bend it like a stick, a wandy stick, so that it can kind of go into any position you want. And that has given me a lot of options in terms of taking that video somewhere else and then being hands-free. I actually don't own a selfie stick. I never have. So that's just a testament that you can actually do this without owning a selfie stick. But there are lots of different stands that you can purchase just going on to Amazon so that you can have a hands-free experience. There is, I think, sometimes need for a microphone. I have still kind of I think it's a Rhodes brand microphone. I'll put the link in the show notes if you want to see what I have. That connects to my phone, and I have a really long lead line, like a long cord between that wireless. I'm sorry, it's not wireless. It's a lapel mic, and it pins to my shirt, and then I attach it to the phone, and the phone is usually in a stand of some sort, maybe 3 feet away from me. In those situations, I have learned that I need to have a longer kind of cable connecting the two, the actual microphone and the phone. So that was the only thing that I also had to invest in, because the original one that it came with was too short. But I do find that it helps to have a microphone when you're doing things that are in an echoey space, or if you're outside and there's a lot of wind and you're trying to film things going on in the fields. I think it's a good idea to have a microphone for a better quality experience. But that's only if I'm going out there with the intention of, I want to use this to repurpose it someday for a slightly better quality video. Then I'll take the time to think about that. But most of the time, I would say 95% of the time, I am not hauling a microphone around with me. I'm just turning on the camera, flipping the phone around, and I start talking. So Again, for those of you who are just looking for an easy on-ramp into video, I don't think you need to buy a microphone right away. I would only do that if you really start to get serious about it and you want to make more longer form content or things that are going to live on forever. Lighting is another thing to think about. I do not own any special lights to do video. If I think about that, let me back up. I did actually install some lights in our kitchen when we remodeled our kitchen 3 or 4 years ago. I specifically told Kurt that we needed to change the lights because I did so much content in the kitchen, and I noticed that the light was just really yellow and it just didn't look good. And so we paid attention to that when we installed new lights in the kitchen. But most of the time when I'm outside, I'm thinking in terms of, hey, let's not film at 12 o'clock in the middle of the day when the sun is at its peak and is just garishly bright. I try to do more of my videos in the morning when the light is softer, or at dusk time when it's just not quite so strong. If I'm inside of the house, I try to be near a window so that the light is reflecting just naturally from the sun, is coming through the window and reflecting off my face. That's the extent of my thinking about light. Again, if you're going to go more hardcore, then this is not the section of this podcast to listen to. You want to go find someone who's really kind of a professional at that. But for the purposes of what most of us need to do with video, I really don't think you need to be investing in the purchase of special lights or even a microphone. I think you might just need your iPhone or your Android and possibly some kind of a stand to clip onto if you want to be hands-free. That's sort of the essence of the gear. As far as editing software, I used to have editing software on my MacBook. That it was actually the reason I bought a MacBook in the first place many years ago. I switched over because I wanted to be able to make videos on the video editor that naturally comes with the MacBook. But nowadays, I just stitch things together within Instagram, and I really don't use any editing software. So in the show notes, I can put down a suggestion for editing software that I know of. But again, I try to make it as easy as possible, and I'm not putting a lot of extra steps into the editing process. Okay. Enough about gear. I will put links in the show notes for the gear that I use. If you're just looking for somewhere to get started, that might be helpful for you. But let's move on. What I wanted to talk about next was what do you talk about in your videos? Because that's probably the most common question that I get from farmers. What am I even supposed to be filming? What content should I be creating? And I'm going to give you kind of my top 5, 6 lists of things that I think you could film or should film at a bare minimum if you're getting started. But before I do that, I just want you to think about, let's just think about strategy here, because you want to create a content plan or a content strategy when it comes to video. And the question to ask is, what do you want these assets to do for you in the moment, but also potentially in the long term? So don't just think about the content you're creating on video as something that's just for the here and now. Oh, I need to put this up onto Facebook or onto Instagram or TikTok or wherever you are. I'm just going to throw it on there for content to put on today. Sometimes it's really powerful to say, well, how could I reuse this content in the future? Could I be strategic about what I put out there over the next few weeks, knowing that maybe I can download it and reuse it again in the future, repost it again, or put it in a place where people will come on their customer journey and binge watch it, binge listen to it. So here are some examples of things that your video assets could do for you. They could function as a lead magnet. Do you want them to sell your product? Do you want them to make your customers product aware? Not necessarily sell it, but just product aware. Maybe you want your videos to build a connection, and that's their main purpose, or to nurture the lead or customer along, to grow the connection with you. Maybe you want it to serve as a communication channel. You just need to use it to share announcements or quick tell people things that are going on. Maybe you like the idea of just using it to showcase entertaining moments on the farm. Maybe it's all of these, right? But ask yourself that key question, what could these video assets do for you? And that is going to help you discover the things that you could be filming and the topics that you could be discussing. It's not a bad idea to spend 5 to 10 minutes, that's all it's going to take you, to write out ideas for things you can film. I have found that I'm much more likely to take video of things if I have a running list. This sort of reminds me of the time when I hired a photographer to come out and take photos of things on the farm, and I paid her, I don't know, it was like $350 for her session here. And some advice that I got from someone that I thought was really brilliant was to come prepared with a shot list, to be able to pass that to her and say, these are the 10 shots. You can walk around the farm, take pictures of whatever you want, but here are the 10 shots that I want to get out of this for sure. And that gave her some direction, and she was very grateful for that. And I feel like that's the kind of thing that you can do with video as well, to come prepared into your season with a video shot list. These are the moments I want to capture at some point in the season. If you have that list, you're much more likely to remember to do it when those moments arrive. So if you come in your mind at the beginning saying, I want to get 2 testimonial videos by the end of this season, then when you run into a customer, you're much more likely to remember to ask them, hey, would you mind real quick just sharing your experience with the product that you had from me last week in like 30 seconds or less, and have a prompt question to get them started, right? You'll be more likely to ask that because you'll want to check that off your list because it's on your checklist. Okay, so here's kind of my own private like checklist here that I would recommend to you if you're looking at that question of what should I at a bare minimum think about filming on my farm. And the first category that I'm going to suggest to you is an overview of your product, a video about product overview. So if you have a CSA like I do, creating a video that basically is an overview of how the CSA works. If you sell sides of beef, creating a video that showcases the process from start to finish perhaps, or explains how the buying process works. And that's not just necessarily you, a talking head, but it's kind of mixed in with some other B-roll type images. Or if you sell turkeys, Thanksgiving turkeys, and that's like a big promotional focus for you during the month of August or September when you do pre-sales, like creating a product overview video of the turkey and the turkeys running around in your fields, the feeding the turkeys, passing out the turkeys to customers, how pickup works, like creating an actual product video of all the steps. That might be something that you could do. Okay, so this could also be as simple as very short 10-second videos all about your carrots, different angles of your carrots, different moments when the carrots are being harvested, washed, packed, and then a final shot ending on the finished product carrot at the farmer's market, right? And you just show the carrot video from time to time when you're featuring that as your weekly special. So that's sort of the first kind of category that I would throw out at you. The second idea for what to talk about, what to film, would be frequently asked questions. So making a list of the 5 questions that you get the most often from your customers, and you're sick of answering them. You're sick of typing out the answers in an email, and create videos about them. This could be talking head videos where all it is just you talking in front of a camera, but it could also be a little more involved where you have a little bit of what's called B-roll. This is when you film, like a scene of your tractor running through the fields, or a scene of the sign at the end of your driveway, right? You just take B-roll and you store it on your phone, and then you're using that as like overlapping imagery as someone maybe is talking in the background when you actually produce and edit the video. Right. So for example, my frequently asked question videos are how does pickup work in the CSA? Are you organic? I have a video about that. I wrote out some other ideas here. Animals, are your animals humanely treated? How do you manage pests on the farm if you're organic? Like there are some questions like that that you could create entire videos about, and then just answer the one question at a time. I guess you could make one giant FAQ video, but I feel like it's better to do smaller forms of content, and then you can stitch them together later if you want. But people are more likely to watch things that are short. What's great about these is once you have a library of them, when somebody asks you this question, you just send them the link to the video, and then you don't have to type out the answer all the time. Today's podcast is sponsored by Farm Marketing School. This is my monthly membership where farmers can come in and build marketing assets one at a time in special 30-day build projects that I've created for you. There are currently over 14 different projects inside of Farm Marketing School, including your website homepage, building a promo calendar, building a promotional email challenge, testimonial and reviews, how to build a better offer, your email nurture sequence, your lead magnet. There's a sales funnel audit. There's a ton of good stuff in there. And I'm adding new material every couple of months. Plus, you get a monthly Zoom meetup with the whole group in the middle of the month. And we'll be doing some book studies off in the fall. I'm really there just to try and empower you and help you get your marketing assets built. So the way this works is you subscribe from month to month. You can cancel whenever you want. You go in, you take the assessment. There's also a crash course in marketing that you can watch to just learn the lingo and the vocabulary and the framework. And then you get started building your first marketing asset. Every project includes a hour-long tutorial, a resource folder that gives you lots of templates and examples to help make the process of actually building your own version really fast, and also a project planner to help you time it out and make sure you get everything done. If you want to learn more about how to join Farm Marketing School and try it out, you can go to mydigitalfarmer.com/FMS. This is my new kind of flagship offer, my community that I'm going to really be pouring myself into over the next 6 to 12 months. Really excited about it. So I'd love to interact with you. Join at mydigitalfarmer.com/FMS. And now back to the show. Here's another idea. Processes. Farm processes. These are really fascinating for your customers. They like to see how transplanting works every year. They like to see, how does garlic get harvested? How does sweet corn get harvested by hand every time we haul out the huge conveyor belt system? We always take a video of it every year because I just think it's such a neat story. How do you irrigate when you've got 20 acres and a well that's, 2 acres, 3 acres away? Telling that story. How do you use the product? That's a process. How does CSA pickup work? We have a video how an onion topper works. That's very popular. I have a feeling that's probably more popular with my farmers, but it's one of our most popular videos on our YouTube channel. So brainstorming some ideas of actual processes for your customers, but also like how you process your vegetables or how you process your meats, how the buying process works. Those are all going to grease the wheels, build connection, and nurture your customer along. All right, I think another video asset that you should consider making is a video tour of the farm. This is where you would introduce yourself. Make sure you've got pictures of you talking to the camera, but where you're giving them a virtual tour of the different places on the farm, or maybe where you go as a farm. You could take them to one of the markets or one of your drop sites. And the idea is that you're showing transparency, you're building connection, you're building trust. And what I've often seen done is that this particular video lives either on the About page on the website or it's on the home page, sort of near the bottom. Sometimes I've even seen it gated where you can't watch the whole thing unless you give your email address. And that's really brilliant because people really want to see a tour of the farm, especially if they're concerned about things like how are the animals humanely treated? Like I want to see their living conditions, and that's an important thing for them to see before they decide to become a customer. and they're willing to give you their email address. Now you know that they're a lead, that they're interested in your animals, in your meat, and you can follow up with them and build that nurture connection and then eventually sell to them. Testimonial videos is another great thing to put on your list. I really only think you need to have, 3 to 5 of these, and then you can put them on your YouTube channel. I'll talk about lots of different places you can put these in next week's episode, but this is a really classic one, and they don't need to be long. These are things you can just hold up your camera, or you can ask your customer to just do it on their own phone and then send you the video file. That's another way to do it too. But you can hold up the camera while you're at the market and just ask them a prompt question and then film them. And if it doesn't go well, be like, that's okay, let's delete it. Let's try one more time. You can give them several different tries until you find one that you like. Couple more. Screen share videos is something to consider if you have a complicated or confusing buying process. I'm thinking of those of you who are using Harvey, for instance, and your customers have to learn how to use that software in order to let you know what items they never want to see in their CSA share, right? Sometimes that can be confusing, like how do you actually set that up, how to set up your preferences. And so you might do a video screen share one time on your computer that basically is a walkthrough of how to use Harvey, how to set up your account, or how to buy in the online store. If for some reason the process is a little complicated, you can have a tutorial video, and then it's a part of your email. It goes into your sales emails. When someone gets onto your list, you give them the option to watch that so they can actually learn how to go about buying from you. I have done this with my Shared Legacy Farms Academy, my CSA Academy. This is an amazing resource that I offer to all of my members. Years ago, I filmed like a video tutorial for every vegetable, and I've put all my ebooks, veggie ebooks in there. There's a canning course, the Instant Pot course. There's a ton of stuff in there. And I really want my customers who are brand new to the CSA to go in there and make use of it. It's also where I store all of our weekly recipes, our unboxing videos, and like our CSA, our online course that basically teaches them the ins and outs of CSA, how to be successful at it. I really want them to be a part of that. And so I kind of tease them and show them, here's what's inside. Here's how you get inside. Here's some examples of the resources in here. Isn't this worth it? And that's often the thing that causes them to say, yeah, I want to get into that, because they have to request access. I don't just automatically give it to them. But this is the teaser. It's like, you watch this video, you see just how valuable it is inside, how many amazing resources are going to be in here to help you. And then that's often all they need, is to see how easy it is to navigate, and now they're willing to sign up for it. So if you have some special resources like that, you could give a little tour and show them around. Thank you videos are another category of topics to film. So I use a software called Loom. I want to say I pay $10 a month for it. I love it. And I will use this to quickly film a video from my desktop. I think you can get the app on your phone, but I don't have that. But I just sit at my desktop and I quickly talk to the camera on my desktop and just speak out the message that I want to share to my customer. So if a customer sends me an email, has a question, and I don't want to take 15 minutes to type it out, I'll just talk into the camera and answer it, and then send them the link to the video. If I have a brand new CSA member, sometimes, I don't do this consistently, but sometimes I will take the time to send them a welcome message. And I'll just say, hey, I'm so glad you're a part of our CSA. It takes me 2 minutes. I send that. And it's a really nice touch to the customer for them to see like the actual farmer speaking their name personally and welcoming them into the family. Those videos last for as long as I want. I eventually delete them after, a few months if they have been around long enough, and I'm pretty sure the person has had a chance to watch it, then I'll get rid of it and delete it. But those are really, really awesome. I've also used them with my virtual assistant. So if I need to show my VA a specific process and I want to teach her how to do something inside of ConvertKit or how to upload the podcast to Dropbox, I can show the process and teach her, and then we store those in a special location like a training location. She can go back and watch those if she needs to learn the exact process. And one day my virtual assistant may decide she no longer wants to work for me and I need to find a new one. And so then we have all those processes already there waiting for the next person to be trained. I don't have to retrain and recreate all that content again, right? So think about using video as a way to document your SOPs for your team. That's another great use of video. Finally, I wanted to spend just about a minute talking about B-roll a little more specifically. B-roll, again, is that any kind of video that you might take that's going to end up being the foreground video while maybe someone is speaking over it. So, for example, when you watch the news at night, the videographer has taken time to go and take video footage of the sign of the school, or maybe it's an aerial shot of the school to help place the location. And maybe they took some video of students walking the halls, or the teachers pointing to a chalkboard or the whiteboard as they're teaching. And then as the reporter is talking over those images, there's something for the person to look at while they're listening to the report, right? So those different shots are what's called B-roll. And I think it's helpful to have some B-roll shots in your camera. So maybe you've got some video of the tractor rolling along, or you've got some video of customers picking up product at the farmer's market. You've got video of your team packing the CSA box, or video of your sign on the front of the driveway. And you have those assets that you can just plug and play in various places when you're trying to tell a story. So if you need to fill some white space because you've got like a voiceover, you've got these different assets that you can just kind of put in place that sort of reference what you're talking about, right? So just be thinking about that when you're going throughout your week or your day. Are there moments that you could capture where you're not necessarily speaking when you take the video? You're just quickly catching 5 seconds of something happening that you can then use for a video later where you might have a voiceover. Okay, so that was my list of things that you could film, kind of my starting list if you're just wondering what the heck do I talk about. I think that's a really good place to start. Don't feel like you have to do them all, but maybe some of them jumped out at you. I want to end with some of my best practices or tips that I've learned along the way. And I have made all the mistakes, my friends. So if you start out doing video here this week and you feel like you're just messing up all the time, that is okay. And you should probably prepare for that to happen. It's normal to not be so good at it at first. It's just like anything else. You have to practice and you'll eventually get more confident in front of the camera. The first tip that I want to share with you is to show your face. Find a way to get over your fear of showing your face. No one is looking at you thinking, oh my gosh, your hair looks funny, or wow, that tooth isn't straight. Like, seriously, no one's doing that. They just love you so much. And when you get in front of the camera and you're just your authentic self, the way you are when you just talk to people, it bonds people to you. So just be yourself and don't worry about what you look like. Just show your face, because it causes people to connect with you fastest. In fact, when people can see your eyes, that's actually what makes people build their trust with you. So keep that in mind. Number 2 is be aware of the difference between filming in landscape mode or in portrait mode. So portrait mode is when you're holding your camera up and the rectangle, the short side of the rectangle is facing up and down. Landscape mode is when you're turning it on its side, right? And it's making like a horizontal line. The only reason you need to know about that is that if you are filming everything in landscape mode and then you try to, publish it. I'm sorry, if you film something in portrait mode and then you try to publish it onto some of the platforms, it will oftentimes show as like black bars on the side. So you'll just need to kind of figure out how you want it to look, but be aware that depending on how you shoot it and then where you decide to publish it, some platforms like you to publish in portrait over landscape, and some prefer that you film in landscape over portrait. So for example, YouTube, I feel like YouTube is better for a landscape type video, and then an Instagram story or Instagram Reels are more attuned for the portrait style. So if that sounds like gobbledygook right now, just trust me, the way in which you turn your phone and film does actually matter. And the only way you're going to learn that if you're really new at this is just by practicing it and figuring it out. Number 3, keep your videos short. I feel like 3 minutes tops is what I would do. Now, there's exceptions to those rules, but short form video on Instagram stories, going even shorter, like, doing 10 seconds at a time is even better. But if you're going to stitch everything together, I feel like a 3-minute video is probably where you want to land. If you have a really long video and put it onto YouTube, you'll notice that you won't get as many people watching it. Everybody wants to try and learn the information as quickly as possible, and they can see how long the video is before they decide to watch it. So just be mindful of that. Try to keep your videos short unless you have really good stuff to say, and in that case, talk as long as you need to. Number 4 is to load in captions if you can. And the way I do this is that I actually film most of my video on Instagram stories, in the Instagram stories platform, and then I will add captions as a sticker, and then I save the draft in my phone before I publish it, and then I can repurpose that video that has the captions on it in other places. So that's sort of how I get around how do you get captions on your videos to automatically generate. The next tip is to use B-roll. We've talked about what that is. Make sure that you're collecting B-roll on your phone. Use a filter if you're really nervous about showing your face. So in my early years, when I was self-conscious and wasn't confident in what I was doing, and I was worried that people were going to be analyzing my looks, I would use a filter on Instagram, and I still sometimes do. If I'm having a really bad morning and I'm like, wow, I just look really old right now, then I'll put a filter on that makes me look a little bit younger. It makes my skin look nice and smooth. And I just find that gives me confidence, and I don't sit there worrying about what I look like. So don't be afraid to do that. If you need that to build your confidence, it's okay. Audio, invest in a microphone if you're going to be filming a lot outside in the wind and in the elements, and where there's a lot of outside noise or background noise. Otherwise, I don't think you necessarily need to do that. If you're just getting started, my advice to you would be to keep it simple and simply point your camera at a topic or at the subject of your story and narrate from behind the camera. If the idea of showing your face is really nerve-wracking, don't start there. Just start by pointing it at something else, tell the story, stitch it together. Make sure you have a call to action at the end of your video so that people can either follow you or get on your email list or go to your store and buy your thing, or go to your website. Come prepared with a call to action. But that's really all you have to do. It doesn't need to be a high production value video from the front end, just from the start. Just start out very simple. Okay, a few more. Keep track of the videos that you create on a Google Sheet. I started doing this a few years ago, and I'm so glad that I had this idea because it has saved me so much time. Remember I talked about how it's important to repurpose these videos. Some of these videos that you make can be used again later, and you want to know where they live. So once you download these videos from off your phone, let's say you post it to Facebook, and now it lives on Facebook. That's great. Well, download it to your phone too, or to your computer, and then upload it somewhere else. Upload it to Vimeo or upload it to YouTube, and then scrape or copy and paste that URL address of that video and put it in a Google Sheet. I call it my content creation log. And every single video that I care about keeping track of is in there with its URL link. And that way, if I decide that I want to insert that video or embed that video into a future email, then I know where to find it. I don't have to hunt around and look for it. The link is right there, and it's easy to go and find the embed code. It also helps remind me of what content I've even created, so that when I'm looking for an idea for a weekly email, sometimes I go and look at that list of all the video content I've made in the past, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to do an email about that topic, and I'll stick that video in there. And it just gives me an idea of what to even talk about in an email. Okay, so keep track of those videos on a Google Sheet. My next tip is just to embrace the process of reps. Reps. This is going to take a lot of practice before you feel like you're good at it, where you have finesse, and where it really does come easy. I tend to do Instagram stories every single day. And the reason I do that now is because it's just the easiest way for me to communicate with my people. It used to be frightening and scary, but now that I've done it so many times, I kind of have like my routine down. I know what filters I like. I know what stickers I like to put on. I know what kinds of things to talk about. I know how to walk and film at the same time. Yeah, I just sort of have a rhythm. So I like to film in Instagram stories first. In fact, most of my video content starts there, and then I repurpose it later. So if I do a quick story and I have a talking head video and I'm talking at the camera and it doesn't sound good, well, then I just delete it and I try again. That takes a lot of the pressure off. And then I just slowly stitch these videos together until the story is done. Now, if it's a really good story that has a lot of connections through the whole thing, I will actually then stitch all of those individual videos together and form a reel out of them, and then upload that onto my Instagram channel. And then I can download that video and put it onto YouTube, right? Or share it onto Facebook. See, so there's lots of different ways to repurpose it, but I usually find a place where it all begins. And for me, it's Instagram stories, because that's an easy place to quickly make these small little snapshot moments. And then if they don't turn out well, I just quickly delete that one story and try it again until I have 5 or 6 little units that tell a story and that look really good together. So that's sort of a little tip, is I feel like start it in Instagram stories, because you have the power to delete stuff as you go until you have a nice little collection of mini snippets, and then stitch it all together into one video reel, and then download that as an asset that you can permanently use in other places. Okay, 2 more. Create playlists out of your videos. And the reason why this is, I think, powerful is because people will binge watch them on your YouTube channel. So give some thought to the topics here. Be strategic if you don't have a lot of time. Are there specific things that you want to teach? Or is there content that's going to move your leads along and turn them into customers faster? Maybe make those videos first, then stitch them all together in a playlist on your YouTube channel, and then direct people to that in your emails or on your social media or in your other marketing channels. People will binge that stuff. So for instance, I have playlists on my YouTube channel called CSA Frequently Asked Questions. I have one called Cooking Tutorials. I have one called Jobs Around the Farm. And so if somebody wants to kind of explore some of those, they often end up going through a whole bunch of them, not just one. And then my final tip is a very practical one. Make sure that you turn off your ringer and your notifications when you go live on video. I have so many times made this mistake where I get a phone call in the middle of my Facebook Live, and it just creates an awkward pause and jarring moment in the replay later. So I don't always remember to do this, but I'm going to bring it up here because it's probably going to happen to you, because I know how often, if you're a farmer, you're getting phone calls a lot, just like I am. So turn off that ringer, or turn off the notifications so that you can be uninterrupted while you film. And then make sure you turn your ringer back on, because my husband yells at me when I silence my phone and he's trying to call me all day and I won't answer. Okay, that was my final tip. I wanted to do a section in this podcast about different ways you could repurpose videos, but this is already long enough. And so what I think I'm going to do is next week, I'm going to save that section. So next week, I'm going to share 10 different ways that you can take one piece of content and repurpose it in different places. This is going to be a really good episode. So make sure you come back next week to hear that one. I'm all about making your life easier. We don't need to be spending all our day in front of our cameras, looking at ourselves, making videos, right? Like we want to do this fast and quick and be efficient with it. So I'm going to show you how to take one piece of content and then put it in lots of different places so that it can do double, triple, quadruple duty for you, and it can live on as an evergreen resource. It's going to be really good. So tune in next week for that particular content. All right, that is all I have today. If you want to head to the show notes to look for some of those resources I'm going to share with you, you can go to mydigitalfarmer.com/275. If you liked today's episode, please leave me a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts. Just head on over to where all the different episodes are listed, scroll down to the bottom, kind of swipe a few thumb swipes down, and you'll see a place where you can give me your review. And I'd love it if you gave me 5 stars or if you typed out a few thoughts on what you thought about the show. Share this episode with a friend. You can also share the link, go into a Facebook group or your listserv and tell your farmer friends about the show. If you want to get onto my email list and get better at your marketing, I have some really great resources to send your way that are free. You're going to get an email from me every single week for like at least 3 months. It's so good. It's like a walk through the marketing jungle, especially if you're green when it comes to marketing. You want to get on this list. So go to mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe. If you don't like it, you can unsub. My feelings won't be hurt, but I get a lot of good feedback on it. All right. Don't forget, I'm now on Instagram at mydigitalfarmer. I'd love to connect with you there. I usually show up in stories. And thanks for joining me today, you guys. This has been really fun. Happy video filming. That's my challenge to you, is that you film one video this week using some of the tips that I shared today. And if you want, you can tag me at mydigitalfarmer and show me your work, and I will applaud you from over here in Ohio. Have an awesome week, everyone. Remember, I believe in you. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.